Thank you to our GI Joburg supporters for supporting our Patreon and YouTube membership. You help keep the lights on and the wheels turning. Yo, Joe. Berg. And now for our show.
This is episode 388 of GI Joburg. My name is Steve. I'm joined by Paul and Rob. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, guys. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Rob. Hello.
You okay, man?
And in 388, if you've been with GI Joburg for any amount of time, you might know that we have an affinity for three specific action figures. For me, Shockwave 1988. For Rob, Scoop 89. And for Mr. Paul Meister over there, it's Storm Shadow 1988 version 2. And it just dawned on me now that this is episode 388. So there's some symmetry there. But we've held off long enough. It's time to talk about these legendary action figures, the reasons for them being legends, in our eyes at least, and just their general mystique. There's something quite special about these figures, and we're getting into perhaps the most special of all of them, objectively speaking. Of course, to me, Shockwave, to Rob, Scoop, but to Paul, it's Storm Shadow. And Storm Shadow version 2 has an important place for all of us. So if you are a version 1 holdout, or if you are a version 2 fundi, this is the podcast for you. Let's talk about it.
And where do we start? Where should we start with the delightful story of Storm Shadow version 2?
I think the mountain of Storm Shadow, like history and plotting and storyline, is too high to climb even in an hour-long and some change podcast. I think the best way to tackle this action figure is to tackle the action figure. Talk about the plastic, our love for that specifically. And the way I like to kick that off, Paulie, is discussing our nostalgia attached to this figure. When did we first encounter it? How did it worm its way so firmly into our appeal? What storylines did we use this figure specifically for? I've got a few of those boxes ticked, but I'm really wanting to hear from you first, Paul. Why is this figure so important to you?
Dude, I don't know what it is about this Storm Shadow. I think my memory was clearer on an earlier podcast, actually, about when I first encountered this. But I think the first time I saw this figure, it belonged to a guy called Michael Kerrigan. And I always thought he was like quite fascinating. I was like, who is this ninja with this really cool bow and arrow? Because somehow that was the only accessory I think that he still had left for this guy. I think the sword was long broken, or the clips on the backpack were long broken. And it's just that design, like the kind of the sort of triangular block design that is on his doggy. Like it's just so, it just seems right for a character called Storm Shadow. I don't know, just all that mythology, all of it just came to me, and it just kind of clicked. And then also, let's not mess around, I love ninjas, or ninja. I'm a huge fan. And then also with my buddy Dave, when we were kids and stuff, and we would play with these guys, I was always assigned Storm Shadow. Like Storm Shadow was kind of the player 2, if you can put it that way. And
no way, you were Luigi.
Yes.
Luigi to his Mario.
Yeah,
Okay.
so to David Snake Eyes, so to speak. So although I did manage to get to win that back a little bit by having Wolverine. I got the Wolverine toy first. Yeah, second Dave.
He got
Which
Jean Grey.
Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes versions were you playing with?
So this is the thing. I wish I was playing with this one at the time. I seem to remember David. Actually, no, that's not true. I want to say I wish. I did have access to this toy. Like David did have him. And it was the first time then that I'd seen it kind of complete. And I was but David was kind of finicky with toys, as I mentioned before on the podcast. So there were certain figures you just weren't allowed to play with because he was very specific about them. So this Storm Shadow was not one that I always had a chance to get my hands around. So the one that ended up being kind of a surrogate for this Storm Shadow, because of just how we got toys and meeting Dave and all that stuff, was actually the Ninja Force version. Was the one I played with a lot, the black and white version, which he actually gifted to me. So
nice.
Yeah, he gifted to me. I think I actually the one day he just kind of surprised me with it, but I now realize that it was actually probably a New Year's gift, like him being Cantonese. So and like me
And
being
paying it forward, I guess. That's
yeah.
nice.
I've
also
already
that
got
whole
the best one. You can have this one.
Yeah, I think it's that, but also like make no mistake, David did not love the fact that these things had like action features. But he did appreciate that Storm Shadow was decent. I mean, that was a cool thing. I don't want to say his gift was preloaded, but I think David was like, okay, yeah, let me give the dude the Storm Shadow then. Let him just be Storm Shadow. But also in our games and stuff, I was always Storm Shadow. I was always the blue guy in Contra. Like, or the red guy.
I thought
Blue
Red Guy was the
Red
player
guy is
too.
player 2.
Yeah.
Red guy. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lance and Bill?
Bill. Yeah. Lance and Bill. Riser.
Such
They have
pedestrian
names?
Yes, they do. Well, I mean, if you just played Contra, you wouldn't know. But I just remember seeing, didn't NECA do action figures for
They did,
for
yes.
them? I was like,
Yeah.
wow, those are their names. And they come with blast effects that are like balls. big glowing balls.
They're in the manual. The names are in the manual, though. Hey, and in the
Right.
Japanese version of Contra. Sorry, a little bit of tidbit for people, but in Grisor, they actually do mention their names,
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
albeit in Japanese.
If I could read Japanese,
yes, yeah.
I would have known. No, that's I wasn't cool enough to have a Grisor cartridge, so no. I
Oh God,
wouldn't
that
have
was the
known.
only one we had.
Wow.
Yeah, seriously, it was all over the place.
There's
up
plot,
here.
but I can't understand it. Oh
What's
no.
going on?
Hey, actually, yeah, but no, but just sorry, off on this little tangent that we're having about Contra. Japanese version has cutscenes. American version doesn't.
Yes.
So the
Yes,
American
no,
one, you at
I'm
least
aware of
could-
the cutscenes.
yeah, so
but,
you could get a
but
sense
the-
of what was going on.
Yeah, but all the text, of course, was in Japanese.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like,
So, you're not going to
like-
tell me that David, in addition to being Cantonese, spoke Japanese as well.
Actually, interesting thing. Okay, so
Actually,
firstly,
Whoa.
kanji,
Actually.
Japanese. A lot of the characters used for Japanese alphabet and Chinese and Mandarin is the same. So you read it. It's just you read it differently. So yes, David can actually read
Yeah,
some
but English and
Japanese.
French use the same characters too, and voulez-vous, bro? I can't
No,
read that
but
shit.
enough so that David could like finish Japanese RPGs, for example, and also know what's going on in the
okay.
story. Yeah, it's
Okay.
not.
All right, let me not
uncommon.
flex my ignorance. I'm way out of my my depth talking about linguistics.
But
Let's talk about
going back to Storm
logistics.
Shadow, let's go back to the logistics. Yes. This specific version of Storm Shadow has just always resonated with me. It's just always been the one that I know. This is, to me, there was no version 1 Storm Shadow. I'd never seen him until the cartoon. And I had played with this toy and seen this toy long before the cartoon came out. And this was always like Storm Shadow for me. And Storm Shadow was always, in my mind, a good guy for a long time. Until,
we're going to get onto that.
later.
Sure.
So yeah, that's the thing. And what does the Storm Shadow mean for me? Well, aside from it being like my avatar here on GI Joburg, I do relate to Storm Shadow quite a lot. I do find the character to be very relatable. I'm not saying I was like a villain and, wanted to avenge or anything.
Kill my
Bullshit
best
warrior.
friend.
But I do appreciate Storm Shadow's redemption arc, or his whole need for redemption and his whole need for, like it was always
Dude,
like
this is your most Scott Pilgrim moment of all. I really have a kinship with Storm Shadow because of his revenge arc.
Yeah, but it's not
beat
the
up my
vengeance.
girlfriend's exes.
No, it's a case of like, I just think Storm Shadow is one of those characters where he's got everything going for him actually, and he's sitting, and then a Snake Eyes kind of pops up and then shows Storm Shadow what's actually missing in him, and Storm Shadow in the beginning doesn't understand that. He just sees Snake Eyes purely as a rival, let's say. And we kind of, he kind of develops and realizes, oh, these are actually the shortfalls in my character, in my skills, in my, mindset. And so that's the cool thing about Storm Shadow, is that he gets to grow. He gets to learn all of that stuff, whereas Snake Eyes suffers in silence, quite literally. And I do appreciate that, like, Storm Shadow gets to heal. And also, kind of, there's a lot of speculation, and I don't know if we've ever actually had it fully like spelt out to us as readers, but I suppose you can imply. But Storm Shadow also was never really bad. That's the other thing, which has been quite an interesting, which has been a thought of mine, since we were thinking about doing this podcast. I mean, not this podcast, this episode, where, he was kind of being the ninja, being inside Cobra, getting the information to get closer to the people who actually killed his uncle, and figuring it out. And and in doing that, he had to do the bad thing. And I think that's another thing about Storm Shadow's character. It's that it shows you that you can also be the good guy, but sometimes you have to do bad things, or things that are uncomfortable, for you to get closer to your goal, and for the greater good, not necessarily a selfish thing, but for a greater good. And so I appreciate that about Storm Shadow as well. So it's cool how this character for me has always kind of stayed true, to being him. And I've always liked how Storm Shadow's just never been like so much more famous than Snake Eyes. It sounds weird to say it like that, but I'm glad that he's the player too, if I can put it that way.
No.
Yeah. Yo, got so many thoughts in my head. I'm having trouble collecting all of them.
Wow.
Well,
Let's
you're
Yeah.
right that Storm Shadow wasn't depicted as being a bad guy, but I think we're focusing mainly on the Larry Hama stuff.
Yes.
I've heard it said that Larry didn't want the first sort of Asian character in GI Joe to be a totally reprehensible baddie.
Mm.
And that's why you don't see Storm Shadow doing what assassins typically do, which is assassinate.
Mm.
He's seen rescuing Cobra Commander, something that he takes no great joy in doing, but he's effective at doing so. He defends, but doesn't seem to attack. And then at the first opportunity, he jumps ship and goes on the run with Billy. So there's a lot of skewing towards making this guy a redeemable character.
Mm.
Flip the script to the Action Force continuity, and he is depicted as a bad apple. Even in his dojo, he's like the one who's thirsting for vengeance, bloodthirsty. He falls straight into the arms of Cobra because he is a baddie through and through. They had perhaps a less nuanced take on the character, but depending on who you read, you're going to get different shadings of Storm Shadow. We just know what our mainline GI Joe understanding of him is.
Yeah.
And it's a far more gratifying journey.
It's a more
But
he's a
he
more
is definitely
interesting
depicted.
character.
Yeah, it's arguable to say that he was never a baddie. You're absolutely right, Paul. In that continuity, he went on. He went into the grey to try and uncover the truth. And once he had, as the file card says, in fact, he found. I mean, you're basically paraphrasing it by saying that Snake Eyes pulled him back out. The file card says. He was unhinged by the murder of his uncle and his mentor. He infiltrated Cobra seeking revenge, but found vengeance to be a poor substitute for life. And that's all kind of inferred that it was Snake Eyes who put him back on the path to the light.
But it's not
the
that.
noble path.
I'd like to get Rob's nostalgia kick from this figure.
Me too.
When did Storm Shadow version 2 come into your life, bro?
I feel like, as it always is, it has to have something to do with you. I mean, I don't feel like I ever owned it myself. Until maybe, do I own a copy of him? I don't think I do. Do I?
You do.
I
You own the
do.
one. You own the Fun School
Fun
version.
School version. Okay.
Which you
I do.
found at Factory Toy Shop. A whole bunch of Fun School Joes in the early 2000s.
And
Tunnel Rats.
Not
Lifeline.
Lifeline as well. Yeah, but not Major Blood yet. Major Blood came later, I think.
I think you got him around about the same time, but he was a Chinese card. So he was actually a sort of a far better plastic version.
Okay, so
and
that,
Major
that's
Blood is
essentially where
excellent.
he came from. Yeah, so it was Factory Toy Shop. I got a whole bunch of the great Fun School versions of these guys. Which,
Of
I
course,
mean,
you
he's
never
a
got
good
to play with him.
representation. Yes.
You never got to play with him because I hupsed him so fast.
Stole him away. That's why
I
my
was like,
memories
I'm
of it are
nuts.
so bad. I'm like, I remember Stephen playing with him a lot. So I'm like, I obviously didn't own him. But
No, it was your figure. I just grabbed him and did
Thank
not
you
let
very
him go.
much.
I was like, wow, this figure has come back into my life. and Rob doesn't mind.
Never let
so
him go again. He's mine now.
absolutely
now
was a
Rob can be
main-
Snake Eyes.
Now, we used him in conjunction with other Joe figures in a not GI Joe continuity, where he was just some kind of like superpowered, like extra leapy kind of ninja dude, mixed in with like robots and cyborgs and mutants and a whole bunch of other sort of superpowered beings.
Made him a lot
But
more
he was
interesting.
my main guy
Mhm.
for a time.
For a little bit. Until he...
You even let me paint his red sword, silver and black.
It had to be done.
Did it?
I mean, I feel like it did. I mean, we'll probably get into this eventually, but like the red backpack and the red sword does feel very out of place with this figure. So I feel like it was a big improvement. It made it a lot better than just a plain red plastic.
We'll stick a pin in that because I do want to come back to that because that is
Ooh.
so key to the debate about this figure. Like
His accessories, I think.
the validity of the red in the accessories.
Oh, that's specifically interesting.
Yeah, is it just a random choice? Is there
Not on
some
purpose.
wisdom behind that? Is there some way to justify it now and be
Mm.
like, no, I don't want accessories any other color but red? Or is that just nostalgia goggles speaking for me? But
So
let's
you
get
were
into that.
Yeah, I just get in that soon. But you were just saying this is so I gave you a second chance at life with the Storm Shadow version 2. What happened to your first version?
Okay, it was never mine. Now, Rob, you incorporated something in our games in sort of the later 90s into the noughties that every time you got a new toy, you would debut it in game. I think
Yeah.
you did this the first time, and then
did.
subsequent to that, I always did
I
it
gotta
because
do
I
that
love
too.
the suspense of like, oh, here comes a new challenger kind of vibe.
It's completely
And
unexpected.
that,
It makes it so much fun. I think it makes a PlayStation
yeah,
more fun to not just be like, oh, I got a new toy. Like here's an
yeah,
introduction.
introduce it in game. And that first one was Kane from the Toy Biz X-Men line. And then, I mean, we started like scripting these entrances and like blanking out the area of text where the name would appear in
Yeah.
the script. So you'd read the script, but not
You're like,
know
"Whoa,
who's going to
wait,
appear in that scene.
Who's helping out in this? How is he
It
getting
still
out of
weirds
this?
me
No,
out
it's
that you
this
guys-
guy.
It still weirds me out that you guys did scripts. I mean, it's cool. It's just
Well, it wasn't always
very
scripted,
pedantic.
but a lot of the time it was.
No,
Just to-
Paul, think about
Good.
it. Like you build the anticipation through the week. You're like, I know we're gonna have a sleepover on Saturday night or Friday night, perhaps.
Okay.
So that whole week, you've got an itch to play with your new toys,
Mm.
and you're like, I need an outlet. I need an outlet. So you get out some foolscap paper, a pen or a pencil, and you start writing out like, just letting your imagination run wild with what the potential scenario could be. Of course, it never really played out according to script,
Yeah.
but like you were
It's more like
essentially
a play
playing
than a
out your
movie.
game, yeah, with a pen and paper. Anyway, getting back to why I mentioned this in the first place, you might have been the first person to no. Basically, Rob, you weren't the first person to do that to me. That kind of like reveal moment
Deja
with the
vu.
new figure. It happened not too far from where you're sitting, actually. Just behind you, there's the door, the interleading door into my parents' room. In there, my good buddy Lyle Clausen, in the year 1993, we were, I don't know, adventuring along. Our typical way of playing G.I. Joe was to kind of move from room to room, encountering various cloves, covens
So many
of bad
clothes.
guys. Yeah, whatever kind of arrangement of figures and vehicles we had to overcome. Mainly boss battle stuff, like leveling up. And in my parents' room, I don't know if you remember, they had like a blanket with like a sort of a doily over it, almost like a kind of a lattice work of like this
Yeah.
white. I
Yeah,
don't
what
know.
is that thing?
Scaling down this lattice work
Oh,
was
that's great.
this guy, this incredible ninja figure who I'd only ever seen on catalogs. It was Storm Shadow version 2. And forever my first taste of this character. I did not know that Storm Shadow had been a Cobra before that. I had no awareness of that. My ground zero with Storm Shadow was that V2 figure and that reveal, because media appearances, I'd watched G.I. Joe the movie, but Storm Shadow has like a blink and you miss it scene, has no lines. I didn't even know that was Storm Shadow.
Mm.
Only on a rewatch as a teen did I notice, oh, Storm Shadow's actually in the movie, in the big sort of Cobra, chew out Cobra Commander scene. Anyway, so V2 Storm Shadow appeared in my life that day and had a kind of a mystique about him because this was Lyle's toy. It was his favorite toy. And as a result, I had very little hands-on time with it. I think everyone in Joe can relate. There were always toys that seemed a little bit more special. And so whoever owned that toy was very loath to let them go, let them be played with by anyone else.
Yes, Enrico breaking my Snake Eyes version 2, 3. Asshole.
Rico.
Yeah.
So I guess that is the tale of Storm Shadow version 2, as told by the 3 Joburg boys. Now, let's get onto the accessories. I feel that's a nice hot topic, hot red topic. Starting with Paul, kick it back over to you, man. You were the first person to give me sympathy for the wacky colors and be like, actually, no, that's the color of his sword. Even in your 8-bit avatar,
Yes.
you have gone great pains to keep the red sword.
Yeah, because it's cool, you know?
I take it you never painted your accessory.
No. So I've got some images as well for the viewers, for the guys watching.
Let's do it.
I was never a fan of, like, I don't like painting accessories because I always think of them getting scratched and I didn't trust the plastic quality to hold the paint color. But yeah, I like the red. I like the red a lot. For me, in fact, for the longest time, I always thought his claws were red as well. And I don't know why I thought that. And I keep thinking there must be a precedent for that. Like, why did I think that Storm Shadows... By the way, these images are from Yojo's, well, from 3D Joe's and Yojo.com. And yeah, I just always also thought his claws were
bows
red.
upside down.
Yes, yeah, I know.
That's a
grinds
common
my
theme I've
gears, man.
noticed in my research for this. Often, though,
Yeah,
people would put the bows upside down.
Yeah, the counterweight is on the top. It's weird. So I love his red accessories because they give him a much needed pop of color to an otherwise very black and white figure. I mean, I know it's dark gray and white, but I just like the redness of it, and it just feels how do I put it? It just feels action figure-esque for me. Like, it just makes a lot of sense. And I think it really only makes sense on the vintage version of this toy, because when you put other colored weapons in his hands or like a black backpack on him, like, sure, I suppose it looks more quote-unquote realistic, but it loses its kind of designer quality, you know, that cool, you know, it's a cool toy from the 80s kind of feel, you know, like, and I never really thought these colors were too wild. Also, the Arashikage hexagram on his forearm matches his weapon. So, you know, everything kind of comes together. There's a little bit of red on him. There's red on the weapons. There's black and white on him. He's got some gear that is black, some gear that is red. And it makes sense. I don't know. I've always been a fan, personally. Rob, why do you hate the red gear?
It's well, I mean, you're saying, yeah, it's
I'm
less
joking, man.
realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is a lot less realistic. It makes him less of a ninja and more of like a I suppose like a warrior. That he
Okay.
is very easily spotted. I mean, obviously the camera itself is not doing him any favors. You know, he's a ninja dressed in white. That's not helping him much. But I suppose with the camera being more urban or maybe even snow themed, I mean, it might work in a snow setting too.
Mist.
It does make it. He is a bit more hidden with the addition of the camera pattern on his outfit. But the red, it is too poppy, I think. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense. Like, it should be black. It should be silver. So for me, at least, it's just like, why is it red? Like why does it have to be red? Like, it doesn't. You know, it doesn't make any sense why it would be red. It's just like they ran out of a certain color of plastic. And they were like, oh, wow, I'll just make it red then.
I feel it was so designed that way. But
You really think they did this on purpose? I don't
really
know.
do.
1988, they might have been like cutting a few corners, and they're like, ugh.
Well, firstly, red is not the cheapest color to use for anything, for starters. Okay. Whenever you make anything red, there's always a percentage more that you have to pay because it's just a more expensive dye. And so them going with the red accessory, I'm like, okay, they paid money for that to happen.
So you're
And
saying it's on purpose? I mean,
Yeah.
they made there is a decision there. Like they could have
Yeah.
gone cheaper. Okay, I didn't realize.
And I
Is
think
that
there's a
like
lot
what,
of
like
yeah.
scarab beetle shells. Is that what goes into making red?
I honestly I don't know what's red. There's different things obviously that come into play with red, but it is generally considered a more expensive pigment. And I also think because he's got two different colored accessories in the packaging, he was, in the minds of Hasbro at least, a more premium figure. Because I mean 88 has got some great variety and accessories, but I mean look at like Stalker. I mean Stalker was also 88, Arctic Stalker
89.
89, and I mean most of his accessories are white. So
yeah,
and like that for me, that's a cost saving measure because you've got such
so much
advanced tooling
stuff
there.
coming with them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like, okay. And also, make no mistake, Mr. Storm Shadow over here has a lot of tempo on him. I mean, all of those camo things, that's not like they put the whole figure through. That's arms, left and right arms they process, waist, upper legs, lower legs, head. It's a very expensive figure. So I don't think that they went like, oh, okay, fuck it. We're just going to make the backpack red. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a very intentional choice from Hasbro's side. It also makes him very conversational. Like if you are a bunch of kids and one of you guys like saw some other kid with a ninja and you went, oh, I just saw this kid. He's got like a GI Joe. It's like a white ninja with a red sword. You can't mistake that, But if you went, oh, I just saw some kid. He's got like a ninja figure and it's got like a black sword. Then everybody's gonna be like,
They're all
no, Snake Eyes has got a silver sword. Jinx, so it gets kind of yeah. So it kind of is it's a thing. I don't know. I just feel like it's also a great identifier. It makes him very unique.
Well, you've just fired up a little bit of a good memory.
Oh, good.
That I was at my school fair sometime in the mid or early 90s. And I just remember seeing a Ziploc bag with like a bag of, it was just random toys, but I could clearly distinguish his red backpack in that baggie. And I was like, that's a G.I. Joe pod. I think that's Storm Shadow's pod. Oh man, I wish they had the figure in there. I would have snapped it up. But yeah, I wasn't going to buy a bag of crap just for a backpack to a figure that I wouldn't have.
I totally would have.
Well,
no. Flash forward to now, and I absolutely do that.
Yeah, exactly. No, man.
I just actually like yesterday. Yesterday, I just bought 3 crotches.
That's so random.
Gotta buy crotches.
Buy 2 crotches, get one
Gotta
free.
have extras.
Like, but
I bought 2, and the third was free because I identified correctly who it belonged to.
Oh, so the guy was like,
I'll throw this in if you can tell me who it is. I'm like, that's law.
This guy.
Oh, nice.
He's like, okay,
so now,
snap. You
in
can
case
have
order gets a bit out of order, at least Law's got a backup crotch. I'll
always know Kurt's crotch because, it's been sucking me off for 40 years. Love you, Kurt.
Oh, God. I gotta say, on that freaking rabbit hole, dude. I mean, there was a shop at the Randburg waterfront back in the day that was selling. They had all kinds of random crap in there. Like it was the sort of the precursor to what we know in South Africa as a China mall. So it was like a Pakistani store that had like just all kinds of weird things, lights, finishings, fittings. I'm
the Radar Rat.
Yeah, well, Radar Rat, that would come a little bit later. That was actually a little bit more of an actual dedicated toy shop. But in this store that was full of like bric-a-brac, okay, and I'm illustrating this for the listeners who are not South African, so maybe you got something like this in your country. But in and amongst all the crap, there was a wall of key rings, and these key rings were all GI Joes, and they had yeah. And I actually bought a handful. Some of them, a lot of them were New Sculpt era. Some of them were the DTC stuff. And
just to clarify, these weren't official Hasbro items. These were
No.
people taking original
Pictures of
Joes and drilling a sort of an eye hook
Yes.
into their
Like
head.
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Holy.
then the O-ring like was just an elastic band that you could see was like wrapped, and these were sold as key rings. They were like 10 rand each. And I bought a handful of them.
Wow.
The ones that mattered to me, because I didn't want too much new sculpt era ick. But I did get a very nice Lady J upper torso out of that whole deal, because somebody had pulled her legs off at some point.
Whoops.
Whoops, yeah. But at least I got that very nice Lady J upper torso with a really great face sculpt, which I think is the DTC one.
It just goes to show that even in deepest, darkest, like GI Joe as a product, as a presence, was so ubiquitous and so common that people were just like, it was just like action figure trash that you could repurpose as a keychain.
It's madness.
Wow.
Sheer madness. I'm curious, guys.
I remember extra Nitro Vipers
Yeah.
being put into plastic tubes and like put into like a put your coin in and then twist the thing and then down comes the tube and hey, you got an action figure
type thing. Cool.
We got like 6 Nitro Vipers that way.
Yeah,
and
the
they are
local
not cheap
Blockbuster.
figures now.
Very nice. Love it when that happens.
Yeah.
And you guys on the red accessories, I mean, Rob, I've heard your take on it.
You really have. You know how I feel about these things.
He hates red plastic.
I'm not
Well, he didn't
impressed.
oppose me painting them up.
Yeah, you see there. Like I was okay with him painting them up because I was like that. It just makes it look more real. Like the redness it's a bit too much for me. Like you compare it to his original accessories. Like I think generally his original accessories kind of like knocked this set out of the park in general, except maybe the puny bow. But I suppose it is what it is in the end. You know, he had to come with something different. You can't just kind of like give him the exact same accessories again.
So glad they
but yeah,
didn't.
not a fan of the redness.
I do want to note that there was some interesting like design cues taken with this backpack, just in terms of like the placement of the logistical things. So I love that the sword is on the left-hand side, oddly enough.
Yeah, it makes it easier to pull with your left hand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, theoretically, you know, in the sort of ninja logic of things. But now...
And will we say that's definitive, guys, that it is, in fact, the left-hand side and this backpack is not pictured upside down at the moment? Because there is an ambiguity to the backpack. You can have the claws on the left or the right. There is a contour to the backpack structure which matches the figure's back, or does it? I've always been like kind of... It could go either way.
So I'm also quite... I also find it quite ambiguous, right? Because often when you see Storm Shadow like pictured and stuff, he's usually, if he has got a sword, it's usually like I find it in his left hand, or he's using two, you know. This one's got the bow going on, and so he draws the bow with his right arm and he, you know, stabilizes with his left arm. So then it would lead me to feel like that, right? So then it would make me feel like, okay, well then maybe the sword should be on his right hand side, because if he's drawn, he's released an arrow and somebody gets close to him, and at least he can quickly pull out a sword from the right-hand side and cut the dude. So,
yeah, but he's also got the throwing stars on the top. So
yeah,
throw those
and bottom. And so it's an interesting backpack in that I think there is no right way. I think you have to put it on the way that you think suits you the best. And I feel like this backpack also works in that nothing about it feels upside down. You could even have it that you could even turn it a little bit.
Kind of pulls the sword from the bottom of the top. I think because it is a rectangle, you can essentially do it any way you want.
Which I think it's
your choice.
I wonder if that was okay. I want to believe that was intentional to some degree, because the guys that designed these figures were not like, they were not in a hurry. They did these things. They thought about this stuff a lot. I mean, if you guys take a moment and you go and listen to guys like Mark Pennington or
Marky Mark.
Sorry, I can't think of the other dude's name right now. But the artist, you know, you'll hear a lot. The sculptor of these things. I mean,
Bill Merkline.
Thank you, Merkline. Thank you. That was exactly the word. Sorry, Bill Merkline. Yeah, listen to what they have to say, and all of this time, they were so vindicating, or not vindicating. It was so what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, vindicating actually. No, not vindicating. Anyway, it was so good for me to actually hear that. that they had really overthought
Affirming.
a lot of. Yeah, it is very
Affirming,
affirming. Thank you.
yes.
That they really did overthink these things, and they
Mm.
really did try to put in as much energy into how the backpack would work and how kids would think about it, and even like what they thought was cool and would work and was interesting, for a final product as well. And so I do feel
And
like
perhaps
some thought
even
was-
more so when it comes to Storm Shadow,
Yes.
because
yeah,
the importance of this character was at an all-time high. He was riding the wave of popularity of the ninja, and then boom, bombshell. This figure is going to depict his turn from from Cobra to sort of chaotic
no.
good,
Yeah.
or ordered good. I don't know. Like it is a big moment in the toy line. So I guess maybe you're onto something, Paul. Maybe the designers showed that much more care and attention to this version of Storm Shadow than they did to, Budo or Lightfoot. No, those are bad examples. Those figures had technical elements that are
yeah.
excellent and well considered. Hardball. Other wave mates in 88 didn't have the same kind of pressure riding on them that this figure did.
Yeah, and also one that was obviously, I mean, like very, very directly influenced by the story that was going on in the comics. Like a lot of these figures come out of thin air, essentially, and then Harmer works them into his story. While this version of this character comes as a result of events that occurred in the comics itself.
And it's a seismic
envisioned
shift.
him a bad guy, but Harry made him into Harry made him into a good guy.
To
And that's
anyone
huge.
collecting the toys only over this sort of transitionary period from the mid to the late 80s, because a lot of people seem to say the same thing, that like 87 was their jump off point. They weren't picking up figures in 88. The movie killed it, or they aged out and discovered the opposite sex, or whatever you're into, or drinking, or whatever.
Or Star Wars again.
Gross. And this figure was a blind spot in their collecting. So this changeover, if you happened to be someone who collected and was fervently into the toy line over this period, so you went from Cobra Storm Shadow into Joe Storm Shadow, what was your reaction? I'm curious to know. Like, if you weren't reading the comic books, which of course explain things very fully, if you just saw this carded figure and you knew what that was, you recognized the code name, and you were like, what? Hang on, it has a GI Joe underneath his portrait on his file card. What's going on?
Yeah, especially also if you only watch the cartoons,
Yeah,
The cartoons, he was
this
just
would also be a
100%
blind
a
spot.
villain. There was literally there's no like nuance to the character in the cartoons.
There is one little nuance to him in the cartoon.
Oh,
Yeah. So
whoa.
he's always got this kind of honorable way of doing things in the cartoon. And that, like, it might sound like a weird thing, but in cartoon language, it definitely means he's not as corrupt, evil, or stupid as the rest of his contemporaries, the rest of his workmates, his colleagues. Because he will often be in he's often one of those characters that will be like, we must stop our fighting and work together. Kind of, he's one of those guys, and he's also one of those. There's another situation where he's like, I think Cobra Commander is wrong, and he will do something like in the Excalibur. There's that whole episode with Excalibur where he does one or two things to kind of, he screws that up for other people. There's another moment of him being kind of there's a few moments of him being honorable in the cartoon. He's bad. He's definitely a bad guy. But there are moments where he's just like, whereas like Zartan, for example, would just be like, no, feed them to the sharks. Yeah. Like,
Well, Paul, it's a consequence of being too good at your job, because if Storm Shadow didn't have this honorable side,
everybody would
those
dead.
scenes would have resulted in an absolute massacre of whatever Joe he was squaring off against.
I mean,
Like, there was always a chink in his armor, and that was like, oh, you saved my life. I will spare yours. Goodbye.
that could also be a consequence. I don't know, not to be that guy, but because he
Be that
was a
guy.
Japanese character, and I suppose the perception of the Japanese, or at least of samurai, which I suppose was the more well-known, kind of like combat person from Japan, is that they are filled with honor. The Japanese are very honorable, so they kind of incorporated that.
I would
as kind of
contest
like
that samurai were not as. I would contest that
probably not as
samurai
well
weren't as
known.
famous in the 80s as ninja, but
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
But I don't know. It's the
take the
concept
point.
of the Japanese has been very, or at least the generic, or the stereotype of
The
the
percep-
Japanese
yeah.
as being very, honorable. They're all about manners and all of that stuff. So as a shorthand, they incorporated that into the cartoon version of the character.
Also, a lot of
It's
ninja,
possible that's something. I'm just saying.
a lot of ninja films in the 80s done by Westerners actually do depict the ninja sort of living by very Bushido standards. By very
They have a
samurai
code.
codes.
It's not a samurai, but they have a code of honor of some sort.
But specifically like in Western films, like even American Ninja, all those things, a lot of that system is from samurai. Like it's not that ninja don't have an honor code. It's just that it's argued that ninja's honor code is very similar to that of the Yakuza. It's a code. It's a code unto themselves. It's not necessarily always about like, oh, an honorable battle. Sometimes it's also about not spilling blood for no good reason as well. Even though I'm not trying to like glorify the Yakuza or whatever, but the Yakuza work on a system, and I've always felt that Storm Shadow in a lot of ways is very much like Yakuza. He's got a very like the Arashikage. I feel is very Yakuza.
Yeah, well, they pulled on that. I feel a little bit in the Snake Eyes movie.
Yes,
they do feel a little bit Yakuza-ish in that film.
And
but so speaking to the backpack, so something that I've noticed in some of the things that I've seen. What? So we have the nunchucks on the top. What is that below the nunchucks? Because some people have said it's a bunch of arrows. Other people have said it's maybe a climbing ladder of some sort. What do you guys think, or what do you postulate this could be?
I'm letting one of you guys speak first.
Wow. Well,
I've never seen this particular implement used, but you can see that they are a succession of rods with cord that loops.
Connecting.
Yeah, so that these rods are sort of connected by a flexible cord between them. Would that be some kind of climbing implement? Presumably. I mean, it's kind of telescoping in a way, and it's semi-rigid. So maybe there are ways of hooking it into
the crevices,
whatever you're scaling.
Like that. Yeah, because it's obviously not like the weapon that version was it 3 of Snake Eyes came with. It's not that. Like that. This is way too
it's
big
not
to be the loopy, scoopy, hitty thing. The three things.
This thing has 7 sections and like basically 14 segments.
So, I'm sorry that I don't have an image of it for us because
I mean this is for the mind.
There's 2 books on ninja that I have, and one of them's got something that's very similar to this. In that it's kind of okay. There's 2 different formats. There's a climbing, like kind of a ladder that this can make, but I'm using ladder in a very loose term. It's very much like how we understand rope ladders, where it's got like a little loop on the top of the rope, like how an action figure rope ladder works.
Yeah, like a little like knot things you can pull up. Like we see in American movies in gyms. They're like climb to the top.
Yeah. So there is.
We had one of those at my junior school, actually.
Oh, really? Oh, goodness.
Terrifying to a child to scale one of those ropes.
Get to the top, little
Getting
chopper.
to the top is fine. It's getting down that's always tricky.
That's the easy part. If you survive the difficult.
Yeah, if you survive the fall, that's a different story. But
oh, sorry, there are 8 rods. I miscounted.
So
old as.
So like those kind of climbing rope ladder things, there is kind of evidence that to support that ninja had something like that, but actually this is more relating to it's a pole. It's like it's a pole that would be used to, yes, as you guys had sort of mentioned, it would be interlinking bamboo that you like lock in together, and you'd pull the one side a bit tighter, and then you would use that to ascend a wall.
Okay,
Oh
or
man, so
whatever.
it's like a tent, like a modern tent pole.
Yeah, kind of thing.
They're super
Ah.
lightweight, flexible, but they are linked by a cord, and you like.
Okay. And then
And
they can
connect
use
them
it
all
for
together.
pole vaulting, or kind of like.
I don't know if it could be used for pole vaulting.
Okay,
I'm not.
but
I'm
somehow
not.
it helped them get somewhere.
I'm not disclosing that it can't. I'm not dismissing that it couldn't be used as pole vault. But if you look at how Japanese castles were constructed,
Mhm.
a device like this, if you could get through to the outer wall and you could stretch like, I don't know, 4 meters of pole across, even 2 meters of
Hang
pole
on.
across, you could.
Ah.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
occurred to me, he's got all this rope tied
He
around
does
him.
have a lot of rope.
What if this is a telescoping, like, you know how a trapeze artist would cross a rope
Ah,
using
also be
a
that, yeah.
balancing
Maybe that too. Yeah.
rod. What would you call that? A balancing
A
beam.
balancing rod.
rod.
Whatever.
Balancing
Yeah.
rod.
I don't know.
So I mean,
Yeah, I'd be keen
easier
to
than
see.
going hand over hand. You just walk over the rope
Mm.
with this balance.
Yeah, that's
also-
a great
Telescope.
idea, actually.
I also feel like when they designed this Storm Shadow in particular, that I think Larry Hama was. I want to believe that he was involved, or that somebody that had a very good understanding of ninjutsu and like Japanese ninja like history and whatever's was involved. Because
Mm.
firstly, having that amount of rope, that is quite a common thing for. I don't want to say it's like ninja ran around with rope around them, but it is a very commonly used tool by ninja. Rope was used as a weapon. It was used as a climbing implement. It was used to restrain. It's very useful. It was used for hunting, used for creating traps. Rope is one of the most important things a ninja can have. And also, like, they look like carabiners on him, but there's also these like clips on the rope that I'm zooming into it now. They're these white clips that are on the rope. That's not just rope that's tying it together. That's another type of a ninja tool there. I'm speculating now, but it looks a lot like, it looks similar to teki that was used for climbing, or for like kunai, which was used for like hooking, for helping to climb and scale sheer walls. So I feel like that is like quite
Yeah,
clever there.
part of his equipment, yeah, because I mean, he's already holding the rope together slightly higher up. Like the rope
Yes.
is strung around itself.
It's already bound. Yeah,
So you can
exactly.
imagine that is something else. But that's an interesting detail, because I always just thought there was just like a flap or something holding the rope.
And then the little pouches on him, which could be like for
Perfect for
housing
smoke bombs, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or caltrops or whatever.
Yeah.
See, those were like the weapons, like all of these cool things, like this tanto or this ninjato and the teki, the claw and the bow. Those are all very nice, like kind of ninja, like romantic ninja weapons. But the real shit that they used to use was like, shuriken,
Yeah.
throwable stars, and they were actually a climbing implement that they also taught themselves how to throw. And then smoke bombs, like being inventive in that way. Smoke bombs, pepper dust, all of that kind of stuff. Like,
Distraction charges.
yeah, that's the kind of shit that so him without his backpack is still hella lethal. He's still carrying an inventory, which I
well
love.
prepared to like get out there and
Which
Sorry, guys.
don't include having a dagger like sort of in it, like tucked into his cummerbund.
It's very possible.
Version 1 has, well, no, I'm referring specifically to version 1, who,
some wild details.
yeah, perhaps it was less thoughtful back in 84 when this figure was designed, or 83. But he's got his ninja weapons proudly on display in perhaps the least ergonomic way.
Don't bend.
This stuff is
Oh,
gonna
my dick.
jab him in the gut.
Yeah. Sorry, I love this guy.
Marveling.
I mean, you guys know, I've been trying to hold back on saying this now on this episode, but I am
Sure.
very much in love with this figure, and it's still,
Ooh.
it says something when you can still look at this guy, and I think we're gonna do the same thing when we talk about Scoop and Shockwave.
100%. You guys are gonna look at those guys and be so happy.
And it's it says something when you can look at this toy that you've been carrying around with you and being sort of infatuated with for years, and still find something about it that is interesting, and still feel that same level of enthusiasm about speaking about him, because
Okay.
just so much.
3rd of August 2025. What has jumped out to you as a new detail worth appreciating?
Well, actually, believe it or not, those clips on the rope, Because
Oh.
also
Wow.
for the longest time, I also thought it was just another bit of rope binding them. And
Mm.
then I was looking through some ninja books and whatever's in the last week or so, just to check some stuff with ninja weapon, because I also wanted to get a confirmation on the backpack pole on the extender. And then it sort of struck me, and then there was something in there that looked a lot like what was on his ropes, and I was like, oh shit. It's climbing hooks, like carabiner type things, but yeah, like carabiner kind of hooks. So I was like, that's interesting. And then also, this is not a new detail, but it always feels like a new detail for me every time I talk about it. But the backpack, being sort of having the sword at the bottom, having the sword at the top, having the sword on the right, having the sword on the left. These are interesting things. Like, how, can he reach the shuriken, the ninja star, easily from the top? Can he reach them from the bottom? Like, there's a lot of like cleverness in this toy, and also with love to 3D Joes, but this bow is upside down. And
I think what the photographer was going for with putting the bow that way around is to
show the
try and
detail.
better copy the artwork.
Yes,
Yeah.
Because the artwork depicts the arrows with the tips pointing up.
yeah,
Mm.
But the artwork also correctly places the sight on top and the counterweight at the bottom. So the artwork got it wrong in the essence that it's flipped the arrows.
Yeah. And
Uh,
also, then you don't get to see the cool detail of the little rising sun. If you do it the other way around.
that's right.
Oh,
There's a cool little
yes,
detail
yes.
on it. Yeah.
Let's talk about the bow and arrow combo. This is a compound bow, right? So it's
Yes.
creating extra tension using pulleys. So the
Mhm.
actual draw on it doesn't require much strength at all, which is
yes and no.
a kind of a scientific hack or engineering hack
Less strength, I guess.
to what? Well,
When you pull,
please
yeah.
enlighten
So
me.
to
dude.
draw a compound is actually quite heavy, but to
Okay.
hold the compound is not heavy. So you can hold it
Right.
and maintain your stamina to correct your aim. It's great, better for that.
Hmm.
So it kind of like when you draw it, and like, listen, I've only ever drawn a compound bow once in my life. Well, multiple times, but it was one day in my life. It kind of locks in. So when you like draw it, kind of, I wouldn't say it like locks in, but it gets to this like point where you're just like, oh, I'm not actually pulling anymore. I'm just holding it. Because when you let go,
Right.
then obviously you unleash the death,
Mm.
the death bolt. But yeah, so that's the one thing. It's more comfortable. So it's kind of the sniper rifle of bows, if you can put it that way. It's not as
And it
quick fire as the Rico.
absolutely became, for at least an issue, it became a leading piece of equipment in Storm Shadow's arsenal.
Mhm.
Rob, I'm going to preempt you maybe, but Storm Shadow's first comic book appearance, which one was it?
Well, Storm Shadow's actual comic book
Sorry.
appearance was issue 21, the silent issue.
Apologies.
But
Storm Shadow
but-
version 2.
yes, was issue 84 of GI Joe,
Yeah.
titled
me make you big.
Converging Destinies. Destiny.
I only have one thing to say about
converging.
that first issue that features this look, and that's the banter between Billy and Storm Shadow.
Well, yeah,
where
because
Billy's
that's the
saying-
thing. It doesn't focus on that. This issue, its main focus is kind of like filling in the more, because this is actually where we get the backstory.
Mm.
And so the most, yeah, I think you're all right. The most interesting part, at least featuring, this costume, would be the kind of like first little sequence here when they're kind of chatting together about what is it about?
I can do it. I can do it. I've got my
You can
figures.
do it. Please
I'll
do.
puppet them for
Yeah.
you.
Play it
Hold
out
on.
for us. Play it out.
I've got to highlight this, guys.
Play it
There
out.
we go.
You look very good in my old uniform. Oh, you look good in that new urban camo. It's rad. Yes, Billy totally does say that Storm Shadow's outfit is rad.
Yeah,
it's about the
Billy.
most 80s thing you'll actually
100%
see.
he does.
But the very next issue is the one that I want to draw everyone's attention to, and that
Ah.
is the perhaps not as famous as its predecessor, the Silence issue, but SFX. issue 85.
85.
Which is silent insofar as there's no dialogue, but it has, as this title suggests, SFX. There's lots of sound effects throughout. A whole plot point in SFX is Zartan using sort of a heart scanning device to detect Storm Shadow and fire an arrow at him from across the way.
Yeah.
Storm Shadow's compound bow, yeah, as I say, takes first prize as the sort of most potent weapon of this issue. When he gets it, he unleashes absolute death onto a helicopter pilot, like thwack, and Zartan's red ninja pilot goes down. But the most Studley boss move is where Zartan and Storm Shadow Zartan's in a vehicle, Storm Shadow's pursuing him in another vehicle, and Zartan lets fly an arrow, which destroys all of Storm Shadow's sort of arrow cache. The one that he was drawing, plus the two others that were like installed into the bow.
Proving himself once
The
again.
very next arrow,
Great shot. I mean,
the very next arrow that Zartan lets fly, Storm Shadow catches and loads into his bow and lets that fly and kills Zartan's driver. So, oh man, this is just
yeah. So
some
issue
great
84 might have
ninja
been the
action
first
bullshit.
appearance, but issue 5 is where you actually really get to see him shine as this kind of like gray ninja.
85. Yeah, well, it's a great showcase of the uniform, of course, but like that issue for me more than anything establishes that yes, Zartan might be a master bowman, but Storm Shadow is
The
even
master
better.
bowman.
the one.
Storm
The
Shadow.
only true.
That's an interesting like split between Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes as well, is that Storm Shadow does lean towards being the master of the bow. But that doesn't mean that he's not a master of the sword, you know? Just throwing that out there. I've heard some people like argue that, Snake Eyes
Yeah,
is
Snake
like,
Eyes
so
is
much
the best
better
ones.
than him with swords. And it's like, yeah, maybe.
But
I've
I mean,
even heard
over
myself make
time,
that argument.
yeah. But like in most other media or other versions of the stories between them, when they clash, I mean, they are very, I wouldn't say equal, but I mean, yeah, they do clash for a while. You know, it's not an easy win for either of them with the swords. So they do.
I was laughing at Steven's
they
shenanigans.
They do struggle, and yes, Steven also does own issue 85, by the way.
So cool.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, you do.
Yay!
Yes.
Indeed,
It's
you
awesome.
do.
Awesome issue.
So the pages Steven
Worth
was
a
showing you
read.
do exist in real life. They're not just digital things he found online. This is he does own it. Copyright people.
Gents, I think it's come to the time of the podcast where we're going to piss off 90% of the Joe fans out there.
I think you're right.
If we haven't already.
It's time to play this little game.
Oh.
Like, who did it better? You can't do Storm Shadow without
I
doing
was
a
gonna do that
V1,
too.
V2 battle.
Okay.
Should we break it into categories?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I don't want to do every body part, but can we just talk about head sculpts?
I would probably say version 2. I think for me, version 2 wins.
You know, it's so hard for me because actually the best version in the GI Joe toy line, as far as vintage figures go, yeah, it's hard to say because they both so beautifully executed. I'm gonna say V2, just because it is so difficult to get a hood right on an action figure, and I feel like for them doing it for their first time, they nailed the shit out of it. You know, they nailed that hood.
It's probably a sculpting limitation, but I appreciate the fact that like it's not a thin fabric. Like Storm Shadow version 2's uniform has a thickness to it.
Yeah.
It's like that hoodie is a real like, you know, it
feels heavy.
It's a combat outfit. It's not. Yeah, it's something that you would see in a Hideo Kojima game.
Yeah.
If you want to dial your your mind forward to something that you know is near and dear to Paul's heart.
And for you, Steven?
Or Death Stranding, dude.
Yay, Death
Any
Stranding's
opportunity to
pretty good,
invoke that.
especially the second one.
Stranding.
You should check it out. It's pretty good.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, well, it's been said before, and this is why I said we'd piss people off, that V1's head sculpt can look a little bit sleepy.
Yeah, and maybe the eyes are a
He's
little
got a
too far
wistful-
apart.
Well, he's got a bit of a distant look in his eye. Difficult to see on camera. But if you hold the figure in your hand, you're like, this is definitely a figure from 1984.
Mm.
You know, it's got all the iconography. It's amazing, but it is an early figure and has some of those early figure kind of hallmarks. But who am I to say? Like, there's a cutoff to where GI Joe stops being something that I like intensely, and I guess it's as we near the sort of the 90s, where things do get less iconic, and you know, they're technically excellent figures in their sculpts, but like they've lost some of the magic. The magic is very much alive with V1, with V2.
Me too.
as
Oh
well.
yeah,
So
agreed, man. In fact,
no,
I
I'm going to go
actually-
V1 because I
Wow.
guess the breakup camouflage, the Tetris block, does have a weirdness. That's sort of two horizontal stripes and one vertical.
It's like a little neon
Does-
cat.
It does have a bit of a chibi. Yeah, there's a catness to that. I don't know.
Oh,
It is what it
fa-
is. It's
face,
certainly
yeah.
less complex. It's less complex than their intention. If you want to see their intention, look at the card art. It has far more breakup patterns.
Yeah, there's something.
So-
They were really going for something there, but they realized they just couldn't paint things that way at the
Sure.
time, at least.
How did you guys, when you were younger, how did you guys try to make sense of this camouflage? Just curious.
I think it just looked cool. I didn't think it made any sense to me. I think it just
Okay.
overall looks very,
There's
very
no
cool.
camouflage. I mean, coming from an all-white ninja, like this doesn't seem to be camouflage in my eyes. It just is a cool signature look.
Yeah.
And harked back to another beloved figure. I mean, there's a reason why two of the guys that GI Joburg holds so dear have that kind
Yeah,
of
it's great camo.
Have no
that
faces.
attempt at digital camouflage.
Okay, so I
Yeah,
want to share
no
something.
faces and digital camouflage
Ooh.
in inverted commas.
So something I want to share with you guys with camouflage, with this camouflage, and this is why I asked the question, and was that I was lucky in that I got to watch a lot of like, and ninja films and anime and stuff like that at a very, very young age, and I actually saw one or two ninja movies, and I also remarked on this character and saying to Dave, oh, like, it's kind of dumb that Storm Shadow is all in white, and then David, like, I think he's just being a smartass at the time, but he's all like, yeah, but it's like, ninja don't always wear black. They use different colors and different things for different situations and whatever. And I was like, okay. And then he showed me some film where it actually had like ninjas battling, and it's an Asian film, and they did have like different colors, and they were like, like, it's kind of corny, but the one ninja was like in blue, like the color of the sky, and what they did is like, you don't see anything, and then all of a sudden he just appears out of nowhere in the sky, and it's because he's wearing blue camouflage.
Movie
like-
magic, bro.
I love that, but for me, like, as I've like looked at it, the way I've always made sense of this camouflage for myself is that it works really well. Like, for me, it makes sense that it works well in mist. You would have this like, it's difficult. It would confuse the brain a little bit, I think, if they saw something like this in the mist. And then also dappled lighting. I mean, if you, irrespective of if it's white or not, if you're standing in the mirror in the middle of like a bamboo forest or something with all of that dappled light that's coming through, and it's hitting chunks of you, it's also very difficult for the eye to figure out the contrast. And these black like shapes actually throw that off. And then fast forward a little bit into like my 30s, actually, which is when I actually properly learned this, is you get like dazzle camo, which is used on battleships and has been around since like World War II. But they also use dazzle camo on cars. So when they're testing out production cars on the street, the prototypes, they put them in dazzle camouflage so you can't take photos of them. And That's an interesting thing, actually, to note. It's like, yes, you can take a photo of it, but it's very hard for the camera's autofocus and whatever's to be able to like
I suppose
distinguish
because
it.
it kind of it obscures the exact shape of the thing.
Of course, so it
Because
hides a lot of the
the
contour.
edges, it makes it more difficult to gauge exactly what
He's the faceless
shape of it
master.
is. Okay.
So now I wonder, was this camouflage?
I don't think we're
maybe
done
based-
facing version 1 and version off. I don't think we're done with our version 1, version
Yeah.
2 face
I don't
off.
think. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
haven't
Sorry.
even-
Accessories.
Ooh.
Accessories. Paul, come on, guy.
Okay, so
Champion V2, if you can.
okay, yeah, I was gonna say, listen,
If you can.
Storm Shadow version 1's accessories and the way that they come together is very clever. It's actually quite masterful toy engineering, especially for that time and for the price point of a GI Joe figure. Like to have a backpack that can store the nunchaka and the katana and the bow, and have that like little like it opens, like that is incredible. That's incredible stuff. But it comes with a cost. The nunchaku are quite fragile, less fragile, ironically, than the re-release that was done by Hasbro in 2022 or whatever it was. And the bow is very chintzy. It's very small. Obviously designed to fit into the backpack or onto the backpack and work and be very functional, but it is too small. And the swords, yeah, they don't grip so nice in Storm Shadow's hands. And so, even though the aesthetic and the sort of novel appeal to the weapons in version 1 are great and they're way up there, functionality wise, that's all been improved on version 2. And I gotta say, version 2, they are better. It is a better accessory set in a lot of ways. Like, so, but for my money, my favorite is still version 2. I think version 2 is the way to go.
Wow.
Because even if you don't like the color, get over it. They're great accessories. That compound bow, I mean, that's a legend in
That
GI Joe
freaking
toys.
Wolverine claw.
Claw.
Like everyone knew what this was. This was not a climbing implement. This was a weapon for like slashing mofos.
Yeah, and it's before Street
Awesome.
Fighter as well. Remember that?
Yeah, so Balrog doesn't have this until years later.
Yeah. No, with these claws, So
Crazy
indeed. And Rob, for your money, you prefer version 1?
I do kind of prefer. I just like the intricacy of the original accessories. Like and everything fits together. Like it all comes together. Like he has the backpack. Holsters all of his stuff. Both swords, the nunchucks, and the bow. And I do kind of feel that loss with version 2, where he cannot incorporate all of his stuff into his backpack. Not that all figures need that. Obviously, you don't have to actually be able to fit everything into your black backpack. But it feels like a step back, where if the original had that, the second should at least have that too. I mean, I believe they did fix that with version 50 of Storm Shadow, which was obviously the modern era version, and he comes with all of the accessories and a backpack. Version 2
folks.
backpack that opens up. That does actually have that feature put back into it. So not this one, Paul. That's version
I know.
47.
I was just that was for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
Where's my ultimate? Did I not save the image? I'm such
you didn't.
Clown.
But it's fine. I
totally thought I saved the 50th anniversary. Sorry.
For the appreciation of our watches, I will share with you.
Thank you, because that's a total Paul error there that happened.
Nah, dude. Sometimes we all got to work together to make the show a show. So yeah, version 50
sometimes
came out in 2015. The classic Clash version, according to Yojo. So obviously he is a lanky guy. But yeah, his backpack now can hold 2 swords, and also they've applied lots of different colors to everything, which is something they could do in that time. I'm not saying he's perfect, but it is a version of the character that has all the accessories, and the backpack opens to allow him to kind of store things in there too.
Yes, and they also give it a proper orientation by popping the rope at the bottom. Which,
yes, so they established for this one at least that there's a specific way to hold this thing. And once again,
but they've maintained the backpack being red, so I appreciate that.
I know. Yeah, that is true. I mean, as Paul was kind of showing off there. I mean, there was an earlier version, the version 22,
Oh, geez,
which is
yeah.
kind of like a mix of version 1 and 2, where he had the look of version 2, but he came with a backpack that was similar in style to
Yes.
version 1.
So
But
this fabled figure I actually got as a gift. No, hold on. Just want to
Version
make sure I got
22.
this right. Yes.
50.
Version 50. A friend of mine went
version
over to the
50.
States, and I asked him if he can get me some GI Joe stuff, if he can find
So-
it. And I got not this 50th anniversary, but the version 20, the first one, the version 2 that they did for the 25th anniversary.
So that's
That one.
version
All right.
22.
Yeah, and along with that came the Snake Eyes as well.
Very
So,
nice.
very
Can't hold his
indeed.
backpack though.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
Sad.
There's two
How
versions
does
of
the
that.
backpack attach to him then? Is something on his back coming off?
Yeah, the bandolier.
Oh, okay. So this comes off and then it just pops onto his backpack.
No,
Is
no.
there a hole in his back for his backpack?
The rope.
Oh, this. Oh,
yeah.
the
It's
rope
over his-
holds it on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Fascinating.
yeah. It's an interesting toy. I was very excited about having this, like having the modern version of this.
Well,
I
it's
think
a
it was so
nice
cool.
version. I'm not gonna lie. It's just kind of like a muted version of version 2. Where they kind of like toned down the camo and made it more specifically white with gray accents. But anyway, I think the original version's accessories were better. I mean, like if I had to choose a bow, I prefer version 2's bow because it looks cooler.
The compound's a cool looking bow.
It is.
Agreed.
It's to me at least, it's much cooler. But I just like the intricacy of the first version. That kind of all fits together. It's like, like here I am. Here's all my stuff, and it's not red. I can't get past the red. Unfortunately,
You can't get past the red.
I can't.
I mean, listen. There's like the difference between my love for version 1 and 2's accessories is literally a 0.1.
Yeah.
Okay. And the only thing
it's
that
a wider gulf than that, though, Paul. I mean, like, what good are accessories that
Wow.
are technically excellent
But
to be
unplayable.
worn by the figure, but are completely unplayable?
yeah.
I have
so that's
never been able to get
Hmm.
Storm Shadow to hold his swords in a convincing manner without needing like putty or something.
Yeah.
Because they just
I
like
agree.
shake right out of the grip. And I own multiple Storm Shadow version 1s, and none of them can hold their swords.
Look at me.
Like,
I hold
even
this one.
factory, I'm gonna wager even factory fresh, their thumbs were not tight enough to
I agree.
accept that grip.
It's one small improvement
Or
that
grip
the
that grip.
retro, that Hasbro's retro recorded kind of line
Because
did.
the different plastic.
They
that
made
use.
the accessories fit in
So the
Storm Shadow's
grip
hands
is-
better. Yeah, they definitely
Okay.
improved that. A cool thing just to, because I don't want to like poo-poo too
No.
much about those retro remakes, because I know that there's a lot of bad things that people can say about them, but
And we've said them all.
we have definitely said a lot of them. But for the Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes set, I definitely feel that it gave people the opportunity to experience those figures, in a way that is as close to the original counterparts as possible, because the version 1 Snake Eyes and his accessories, and in the version 1 Storm Shadow with his accessories, and just understanding how cool this backpack actually is, even if the nunchaka do break and all that kind of stuff. At least you didn't have to pay like $300 for the privilege, or whatever it is that is version 1 is
Of
going
breaking your
for.
toy.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of a noble thing that was done.
That's
It's just a
nice of
pity
them
about,
to at least have done that.
it's also a nice stunt Storm Shadow for me to play with now, as well,
True.
which is cool. I actually want to throw some Storm Shadow images on the top here quickly, because I know that
Whoa.
we want to go deeper into our Who Wore It Best section.
Well, yeah. So another thing comparing the two. So we did
Mhm.
the heads. Let's do the feet. Who's got the better feet, guys?
Who's got the better
Like,
feet?
they're both very traditional. They both have those little like weird little toesy things going on. But like for that lower leg part, like which do you think looks better for yourselves? Like, do you prefer the kind of like more like I suppose it's almost like a mat thing? It's kind of like wrapped socks on version 2.
Oh, the wrapped, the
While
leg guards.
while
Yeah.
version 1 is more like a tapered thing going down, like a before you get to kind of like his feet, which feel very much like he's wearing socks.
Yeah, because he's wearing wraps in the first version.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it kind of like wraps down. It does feel very like tiered as it goes down to his feet. Which feet do you guys like better? Version 1 or 2? Steven,
Oh
what
god,
do you think?
so random.
I'm not actually mad about either, but I do like how billowy V2's trousers get before they taper to those very like tight
Mm.
wraps. That's a nice contrast. That's a nice bit of like sculpting, technical work. V1 is a lot simpler. Maybe
Yeah, it's very
simplicity is.
straightforward. I mean, like looking at the pictures now, like it actually feels like they go on version 2. It actually goes higher to the knee. The
Yeah, it's
wraps. Well,
just
version
below
2,
the
it,
knee.
it yeah, well, version 2, it feels like a more like a normal GI Joe figure, where it's kind of like it's just there's the break, and then his pants go down a little bit further down, and then suddenly there's this like.
mid chin.
Okay.
Yeah, I
No, I'm actually gonna go
Version
version
2.
1. I like the simplicity.
Wow. Okay.
yeah, I like the proportions of version 2's legs actually quite a bit. I do like the bigger going into the smaller. I think it's
Okay.
um
So you're
it's
saying version 2, Paul? You like version
yeah,
2?
I'd say version
feet
2.
better.
Yeah. But again,
Hmm.
it is much of a muchness. They're very much the same.
But they're similar,
Robbie,
but they're not the same. I
favorite
mean, I think
feet?
they speak differently for the different figures. So I'm actually probably going with version 1 as well. They look more aesthetically pleasing. I think version 2 feels more realistic. That's kind of like how I would actually imagine them kind of like wrapping their
Version
the
1's
ends of their
pretty
feet.
realistic, to be fair.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But like it feels like there's more detail in the realism of version 2's feet. Like you can see how he would make that look like that. Well, with version 1, it just feels like it just suddenly like drops down. It's like he's wearing like some sort of like tube thing on his legs. I don't know how to explain it, but I think version 1 is more aesthetically pleasing to me. It just looks more like
Okay.
And I've got another factor in favor of version 1.
Ooh.
I could be mistaken, but I think version 2 uses identical left and right parts. So they have unifoot, whereas version 1, clearly there's a left and a right foot.
Yeah,
you're,
because of the little
you're
break
right there.
in his little toes.
Bit of tooling cost saved on version 2. And I'm going
Well,
to
they
dock it
had
for
to
that.
with all of that red paint plastic they were using for backpacks. We could have had separately sculpted feet, but they had to spend all that money on those bloody red accessories. You see, you
All
lose
right.
out sometimes.
Let's do 2 more categories because
Yeah.
it's time to bring this all to a close.
Yes.
This is an interesting one for me because we've got 2 of the most visible and most often copied in terms of actual like body tattoos with us normies. Iconography of GI Joe.
Like,
The one is obviously the Cobra symbol. The other is the Arashikage tattoo. Of these 2 icons of GI Joe, which do you prefer?
Which would I rather have tattooed on my body?
Yeah, okay. You could look at it that way. If you want. The I Ching is hundreds, if not
Thousands
more
of
than
years
1,000 years
old.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
The Cobra symbol is like one of the greatest symbols ever designed
graphic
in the
design,
modern
yeah.
age.
Like it's
Perfection.
It's really quite good.
Really quite good, you say?
No, it really is. I mean, like I don't want to throw out too many words here, to overplay this. I think that the more straightforwardness of the I Ching, I think I would prefer.
Yeah, I also like the hexagram more.
Like it feels like it has more meaning, like, and this more specifically with tattoos, like it has more meaning. Like I could interpret it more for myself than I could for the Cobra symbol. Like, yeah. So I would probably actually go with version 2. I get that as a tattoo. I'd itching it
Mr.
up.
Director, can you stop making me solo on the camera, please?
Okay. I thought you were still showing us stuff.
Thank you.
No. It's
Everyone knows what an I Ching hexagram
I
60,
Ching
number 63?
64.
64.
63.
I wish I
wrote
could
this
give
down.
a better answer for
63,
that.
you're right.
Yeah.
Water over
Water over
fire,
fire.
which,
Yeah.
according to good old Kevin FormBX257's review, is
Like overcoming.
symbolizing bringing an end to conflict.
Yeah.
Now, the cynical view is the one that I prefer. There's no great deep meaning to it. It's literally like the easiest I Ching for Larry to remember and then tell his artists to draw.
Yeah, draw that one. No, for sure.
Broken
because, I
line,
mean, not-
solid line, broken line, solid
broken
line.
line, solid line. Or is it
Yeah.
solid line, broken line, solid line, broken line?
For the longest
Oh,
time, I
it's
thought
been
the solid
upside
line was
down
on
this
top,
whole
but
time.
actually, no. If you're looking at your own forearm, the broken line would be
Yeah,
on top.
That a hexagram can also be interpreted as being in constant conflict.
yeah.
the way.
Well, that's the
Oh,
thing. These things can be
yes.
infinitely interpretable,
Reinterpreted.
depending on the situation.
I don't know.
that you're in.
For me, water suspended over fire is, you know, a
That
a
suggests
sword of Damocles,
something.
basically,
Yeah,
a threat that
that
is
means
always
something
hanging over your head.
much bigger.
And it makes the water hot. As well.
Yeah, like water above
Ah.
fire. I mean, that's so much better than fire above water, because then that's just the rock. You're just in that basement with Sean Connery and there's fire coming over you and you're Nick Cage and you're like, whoa! But anyway, I choose I Ching. Paul, what did you
Winners,
have?
fuck the prom queen. Slap her around a little bit. Connery, my goodness.
Yeah,
What
man.
a guy.
Yeah, no,
dude.
but I do agree with you guys. Listen, I'm all for the hexagram.
Same. Slap him around.
But I do think it's worth noting that Storm Shadow version 1 without a cobra symbol on his left breast looks very strange.
Have you seen this?
Yes,
Once
Yeah, I have.
smudged down. Ew, that sounds awful.
I've seen it rubbed off. I've seen guys do customs where they replace that. I've seen a custom where it was
No,
replaced
please,
with the
no.
Arashikage symbol and it looks wrong.
Ooh, no.
Well, it's valid in that if that uniform truly did become Billy's, having the Cobra symbol there is problematic.
Of course.
Yeah, okay, that's one
And
point
let's not
of it.
lose sight of the fact that there are plenty of Storm Shadow torsos out there with symbols that are in pretty bad shape.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a sacrificial
You
lamb
will
as a custom.
struggle. You kinda
There are
have
ways
to.
of reproing that though. I mean, you could get a sticker or a water slide.
Yeah. I mean, it's not,
Yeah,
it's not
you can go
terribly difficult
crazy
to
with
go
that,
and
you know.
sort out.
Okay,
Also-
and Steven, are you choosing Cobra or I Ching? What are we going with here?
Well, this is going to feed into my final category, but like, there's something so very iconic about the Cobra Ninja having his Cobra symbol.
Yeah, it's more
you said
iconic
it,
than
Paul.
just him having yeah. Okay.
You take that away, there's something missing. There's something desperately missing from V1.
Okay.
And
We take away I Ching.
V2, unfortunately, V2 by not having anything there gives you a bit of a blank spot over his heart.
Yeah.
Like, I love the tattoo. The reveal of the tattoo is such a superb detail, but it's all the way off to the side. You know, it's on his extremities. It's on his forearm. That leaves you with a like real estate that is not capitalized on an area that is so key for most Joes. Like their chest is like such a signature part of their outfit, and for Stormy V2, that's left blank apart from a few Tetris blocks. So. Yeah, advantage V1. I don't know what the tally of this is.
Because
I
I know we
everyone's
haven't
taking
been.
something from this. Hope you have your own.
There is a
Well,
tally.
I
don't
haven't
worry.
been.
I've been writing these.
No,
down.
but I mean,
Oh,
So
thank you,
final
Rob.
category.
oh my goodness.
What can I
Okay,
assume this
the
is?
final category then is just
5.
what your overall takeaway. Like, if you were to save one from the fire,
Word.
The first one is
which
more
of these figures would
expensive.
it be? And try and like eschew your knowledge of like. That's what I was gonna say. Like, try not to let that be a factor. Like, which one is a more important toy to you? Which one is something that okay? Let's take the burning building scenario out and just say which one are you going
Word.
to pick up and play
Oh
with
yeah,
more
version
likely?
2 for me all the way. And also like worth mentioning, if it was a burning building scenario, I would save version 1 because I have version 2 in my pocket already. It comes everywhere with me.
Okay, so you're cheating. Okay, he's cheating with this one.
Very good.
Huh.
Nice.
Well, my only real experience with version 1, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know what it is, but it is the reissue, whatever it is. And he's pretty decent. I like him. And obviously my experience with version 2 is very little because Steven, pried him out of my hands and never gave him back.
Dude, he's with you. No, I gave him back. I do not currently have that Storm Shadow. I even gave up his painted sword, which was a bitch to find one on the
unpainted.
aftermarket. Like this no, just the sword itself doesn't come up very often. Storm Shadow's red sword is
and I
not
believe
a
it's
common
made
accessory.
more difficult.
This
I
was
think that was Form BX or HCC mentioned it. I think the same year, Budo also has a red sword.
Yep.
And they're very similar swords,
He does.
but they're not identical swords.
Yep.
This one, courtesy of our good buddy Greg Crocart. Thank you,
Cheers,
Greg. Big ups, buddy. So yeah, I have a complete Storm Shadow. Amazing.
But I think aesthetics. Yeah,
I would say
you're gonna say version 2.
V2.
Okay.
V2.
This particular version 2 Storm Shadow is the first donation GI Joburg ever received. Our buddy Scott sent it.
Oh, cool.
So there's sentimental value there as well.
I got mine from Kokomo.
Oh, okay.
There it is. Take a look.
Brilliant. Amazing. Each of these figures have a story.
They do. They have a huge story. So I would
That's
also
Kokomo
go
Toys,
2, by
not
the
just the
way.
place.
Yeah.
I would go with version 2 as well. I think even with these shitty accessories, like I can put up with the accessories because I think the figure is so cool. And by the way, this is the only one of these 5 categories where we are all in agreement. Like we agreed that number 2 is the winner of a category. Every other one, there's always that one guy who's dissenting. It's usually Steven, by the way. Actually, no, I lie. It's either Steven or it's me. Paul is pretty consistent, actually. Paul has said version 2 on every single one of these 5 categories. And the winner overall, 4 out of 5 categories is version 2. He has won the quick fire establishment of the top amazing, incredible snake eyes. Best snake eyes.
Well, it is version 2's episode. If we do a version 1 review, expect the tables to turn.
Or will it? Or will it? I don't know.
We
have. I'm sure we've done a definitive sculpt of Snake Eye. I mean, Storm Shadow, haven't we? We did it when we were doing definitive sculpts. I feel like that was.
Yeah,
but that doesn't count. This is years later.
The long form review podcasts.
Yeah.
We've yet to do version 1 Storm Shadow. His time will come.
It will arrive. But between us and him is Shockwave and Scoop. So look out to see those episodes at some point. If you guys really enjoy this episode, we will definitely talk about Stephen and Rob's favorite.
Even if you guys don't enjoy this episode, we're definitely going to talk about this.
No, if you don't enjoy this episode, we'll just never talk about them ever again.
Guys, can I just because it is a bit of a Storm Shadow themed episode, I do want to just quickly go through just a few of the Storm Shadows that have been released.
Whoa!
And this is not going to be too super exciting for our listeners, but
describe them.
So here's what I like to call the Desert Mystic,
the Middle
Storm
Eastern
Shadow,
mystical,
which is number 39. Which I gotta say I've grown quite a fondness for.
It's very Mad Max.
It's very Mad Max, and I actually never picked him up initially when he came out. And I regret that because he has some cool gear. I love this. It's got soft goods. I like this because it's actually quite an interesting Frank and Joe put together, but it tells a very cool story of, to me, it tells a cool story of like Storm Shadow sort of exiling himself from Cobra and him being, if he was a bad guy, this is him being exiled from Cobra and sort of coming to terms with that.
Evil.
Yeah.
And he's so evil, he even got a bloody Cobra tattoo. It's not even on his costume anymore. He's
that's the thing.
Into his flesh. He's like, I am a Rishikage, but I am Cobra.
Also has that fun little feature that Delta 17 has also got in their figures where you can join the swords together. Yeah. And also to have never mind just soft goods, but like a metal chain that came with this figure is quite
This
cool.
is a version of Storm Shadow who could be played by Ray Park convincingly, I think.
I think so too.
Guys, don't forget Rise of Cobra.
Yeah.
He joins his swords at the end.
He does. So that's definitely influenced by that.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. This is a Franken joke because these weapons come from that Rise of Cobra set. Because this is a total Franken joke. I mean, all of these weapons. I mean, even those claws are desert scorpion claws. Before I say desert viper.
Desert Viper.
I think the only original pieces of tooling on this may have been the waistband and the with the soft goods and
yeah.
the head and the sort of neckerchief.
Like the balaclava, all of the details of the
Yeah.
figure are new.
So yeah, and then another one is the what's known as Storm Shadow version 40 on Yojo. I also really love this because of the head sculpt. It has got a play feature. Get over it. But it does look a lot like Ryu Hayabusa. From,
What's his
Well,
play
no
feature?
wonder you like him.
he's got a spinning waist.
Covers
He's,
his eyes.
You twist his waist and you let it go. That's why he's got these
spins
moves for claws.
around.
He spins
Okay.
around.
Maybe a little too gimmicky for me.
A little too gimmicky, but geez, some of the head sculpt and the lower legs are great on this, and I quite
So
dig it, and I
nice.
feel like it needs to be sort of shown off a little bit.
Yeah, just
Of
a
course, version 3, the Ninja
Ninja-
Force.
Ninja Vipers.
Ninja Force Storm Shadow is an absolute treat for the eyes, especially for those
So
of you that
good.
enjoyed Atlantis Factor, the video game.
And he has a play feature like that other guy had.
Yes, he does. He's got the whirlwind attack. Whoa. I keep
Screaming whirlwind. Come on.
Wow.
Screaming whirlwind. Then there's this version that
Very
they did of
nondescript
him,
version
which is
of
like it's meant to sort of represent him, and it's like Snake Eyes also has a version of this where they're training as Arashikage, so he's got his armor and all that. It's just it's a fun one, especially if you enjoy doing like Dio stories, comics, coming back and forth, like doing a play motion with your modern era Joes.
It's when
you know-
seeing all of these modern era figures is when you suddenly realize how we got to like 50 plus versions of
Right.
like Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. Like they were just released anything, Like if
But-
you don't like this version, don't worry, we have another one coming.
We got
out
another one in the pipe, yeah, because this is our evergreen figure. Rob showed of Storm Shadow 22. I've
Yeah,
got
I
quite a strong
did.
fondness for this guy. And then there's just some artwork and cool stuff. And then I want to get
Beautiful
to
things.
after a lot of deliberation, I've actually found that the classified Storm Shadow version 2 is actually quite an awesome toy.
Wow.
Having looked at it quite a bit, sure, it's got its faults, but the thing with the classified is you get so much gear and so much removable stuff that you can actually tailor this to being what you want it to be.
Yeah, just throw the figure away and keep the accessories. Brilliant.
But it's got a lot of it definitely does a lot of good things for me, and it also feels like the affordable and obtainable version of the sideshow Snake Eyes Storm Shadow. So very different in energy, but also very similar, very modernized. I guess that's my only issue with it. It's maybe just feels a bit
maybe
too
if they gave
modern.
him a red backpack, he would look.
I
more
think
like
that
Red
would have been the
Pursuit.
winner. You're right,
They would
Rob.
have
I
actually
think-
like pulled it together. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not being facetious here. I'm saying like I think he should have the red backpack.
No, you're right. You're right.
Because they've
I-
added red accents to the classified version. So if you added the red backpack, it would actually pull it together.
Yep.
But yeah,
There you go. And so that was
Storm
just a
Shadow.
bit of a Storm Shadow rundown. Obviously, 50th anniversary is incredible. I mean, with all of those
So good.
accessories,
he's just very
shuriken,
lanky. That's
foldable
my only
compound
issue.
bow et al. Even though he does look a little bit stretched, he's a
A
goodie.
little bit.
Little bit. Definitely not as well put together as the so-called premium Storm Shadow,
Ultimate version.
ultimate Storm Shadow that came before then. But there's a lot of great Storm Shadow out there, especially if you love version 2. I think
So true.
you can't go too wrong.
Do you guys love version 2? Do you hate version 2? Do you think we're all smoking something here when we're saying version 2 is better than version 1? Like, let us know. Email us, arealsouthafricanhero@gmail.com, or drop a comment down here. Or if you're on Spotify listening to us, just beam your thoughts out to us. We will hear them.
Shout
Yeah.
out your computer and or radio. We always hear
Do
those.
it. We are always
Yeah,
listening.
shout really loud.
We're
We'll
like
hear it.
Google.
To specify though, version 1 will always be the icon,
Of course.
but
I
version 2
mean-
is a way more fun figure for me to play with.
Hmm.
I'll always default to version 2 when it comes
Yeah.
to like play.
And also, like, I know I'm gonna get in the weeds here. Like, well, I'm not gonna get too far in the weeds. I'm gonna get a bit philosophical here. Sorry,
Oh my
but
goodness.
it is my avatar's episode, so I can go there. But I do like that this
Close
Storm
us up,
Shadow-
baby.
This Storm Shadow figure represents sort of just reinvention. It represents looking at oneself and kind of learning what your mistakes are and growing and taking off all the sharp points to eventually get yourself to the ultimate version of you. And I know I'm being a bit philosophical here, and maybe this is not maybe this is very much a subjective thing for me with the Storm Shadow figure, but that's what he represents to me. It's just reinvention, taking out the noise, focusing on what's important, trying not to be jealous, trying not to be envious, and just stay on my path and stay true. And so Storm Shadow is very much a very strong avatar for me. Yeah, be strong and find your strength internally. Find your inner strength. That's what Storm Shadow always is. He's very,
as they
internally
say,
strong.
fire over water.
Yeah, well, that's interpret that how you want to. And the ninja is a weapon.
We out.
Force, Berg Force, that's us, that's you, that's everyone. Welcome, 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you.